Okay, so this sandwich is kind of like the cold cut you'd expect. It has the meats, the cheese, the vegetables, everything you'd expect, but a couple things you wouldn't. Let's do it. First, we're gonna make a super simple pickled onion. You can use any vegetable you want. I'm using onions because I like the little bitterness and kind of sweetness that you get from onions. It's making enough for this sandwich, so we're gonna do about a quarter of a red onion, and we're just gonna do it into little slices like that. That's probably enough. That went all over the place. It's okay. We're gonna throw that into a container with a lid. So I have this here. After that, we're gonna throw in a couple black peppercorns, whole corns or ground up ones. Either way, you can put a bay leaf. I'm doing a little bit of salt. I do a little bit olive oil, and we're gonna do about 3 to 1 of vinegar to boiling water, or just really warm water. So I'm gonna do vinegar until it comes up to the side of whatever vegetable you're using. Keep pouring, keep pouring, keep pouring. And then I'm just gonna use my tap right now and use really hot water. I'll be back in 1 second. Okay, once we got that full of water and all that good stuff, we can just set it aside and cover it for 20 minutes to as long as you want. You can just keep it in your fridge after an hour or whatever. Next thing we have is a brand new sauce on the channel. Yes, we had the sauce in the first episode, we had a little dipping sauce in the second episode, but we have a new sandwich sauce, so let's make it. We're gonna start the same way, a lot of mayonnaise. If it'll go, there we go. And you can just keep this in your fridge like any regular condiment, so I'm just gonna make a lot. Mayo, about a third as much mustard as you put mayo. So we'll eyeball it. That looks good. Olive oil just makes everything better, a little bit richer, a little bit smoother, so we'll put a little bit of that in. Next, we're gonna do a tiny bit of honey for sweetness, and we'll bring out the characteristics of the other components. That's just a little flat. And then I have a little bit of basil that I'm just gonna take off the stem, throw it in the sink for now. And if we roll the smaller leaves inside the bigger leaves, then we can cut it in half and just do a little rough chop like that. And throw those in. Try and get all of them. Make sure when you're cutting herbs you don't bruise them, so your cutting board shouldn't be super green after. It's okay if there's a couple spots, but it should be pretty clean after. Then we're just gonna season to taste with a little bit of salt, pepper, and mix it up. Make sure you taste it for seasoning after. Mix it, and it should be like a pale yellow color. Depending on what mustard you use, you can use a Dijon mustard or something. It'll be a little bit darker, but it's all up to what you like. Taste it. That's good. Could use a little bit of lemon or something. I don't have any right now, but that would be nice. Next, we have tomatoes. So, I already have like half a tomato, so I'm just gonna use that. We're gonna cut them pretty thin. You still wanna taste the tomato, but I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of tomato. But actually, if you prepare your tomatoes right, you can convert a tomato hater. Like myself, I used to hate tomatoes until I started actually putting seasoning on them. Make sure you salt, pepper your tomatoes, at least salt them. We're gonna use salt, pepper, and a little bit of olive oil, so you can do that first. There. Salt. It'll just bring out the flavors of the tomato and make them juicier and play better with everything else in the sandwich. Tomatoes. Next thing, we're talking cold cuts and cheese. I'm just using a basic like vegetarian ham. It's not good for you at all, but it tastes good and we're using it. We're not making health food, we're making good food. And any sharp cheddar will do. Use any kind of cheese, whatever you like. You can use provolone, you can use Swiss, you can use cheddar, anything you want. Next up is greens. I'm using spinach, use lettuce, arugula, whatever you got. That's what this sandwich, use whatever you have in your house. I'm using spinach. And lastly is bread. We're using our trusty sourdough from the grilled cheese episode. It is my favorite bread by far. You can toast your bread. I'm not going to. I like a cold cut sandwich. When I go to Subway, I don't get it toasted. Let's assemble. So we're gonna open our bread. You can toast it on the inside if you want to. I'm not going to. We're gonna apply our sauce to both sides. And since we made a lot, we're gonna have extra. We can drizzle some on top if you like a lot of sauce. Make sure if you spill any, you clean it up with a paper towel so you can get good Instagram photos. And we're gonna put on our greens, whatever you chose. I'm gonna take the stems off my spinach because I don't like how it tastes. And we're just gonna get a little good base going with those. Next, we'll take our cold cuts, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna fold them on there so it gives it a little bit of height and volume to the sandwich. We've done some cheese. I'm gonna use a vegetable peeler. I've never used this before, but let's see if it works. Oh yeah. Get little nice thin slices of cheese, and we can just shape those on and spread them out later. Use as much or as little as you want. You don't even need to put cheese on. If you're vegan, you don't need to put cheese. If you just don't like cheese, don't put cheese. After that, we're gonna do some sliced tomato with our salt and pepper and oil. 1, 2, 3, 4. And lastly, we're gonna top it off with our homemade pickled onions. Take a couple out of there. It's okay if you get some of the peppercorns or anything. It's gonna give it a nice little spiciness to it. That might be too many. There we go. Okay, we're gonna do a taste test of this. I've already had it so many times. It's so good. Let's do it. I think that's everything that you want from a sandwich. Sweet, salty, meaty, cheesy, has a crunch from the vegetables, softness of the bread. It's so good. You need to make it. I think you need to make it. I will see you in the next episode.